Hello everyone, Chris back again with you in Gaming Zone. Today I'm doing something a bit different than usual, but once again a requested topic surrounding my channel. As you might know, I have uploaded and still upload Battlefield 2 mods content as main videos on Gaming Zone since the inception basically, ranging from gameplay series and ending up with experimentals, aka unreleased previews. It's been a long while since I actually started doing these, and as year passed by and I gained more knowledge in the domain, things are changing behind the curtains with a heavy pacing. Back during the early days of my channel, 2016 to be more exact, I introduced reviews in the mod gameplay series, issuing respective final marks for modifications that I played on this channel. A thing which I'm still proud of to this day, a rating system created by me to state if the said project that I'm playing is bad, average, or good. Since then, I've been constantly revising my criteria of issuing said marks, with each format refresh changes happening behind the scenes. Last time I discussed my review methods to you everyone was in late 2017, with this particular content piece covering the review methods upgrades starting with Gaming Zone 2.0 format. With the time passing however, I forgot to create an updated version out there, and the recent question marks that appeared after reviewing projects like Burning Sands, Rust Marines and UNKnow made me create this video. I don't want to create confusion because I was too lazy to upload a video covering my review methods, so with this video I should clear up most of the problems that appeared with recent uploads. Yes everyone, today I'm going to explain once again how my rating system works on Battlefield 2 2142 modifications, and with proper examples that is. I'm not sure if someone will be surprised by this, but it can also be applied to AAA games with certain criteria changes. Some folks have called me biased when reviewing some projects, and some even think that I'm too negative when reviewing content. That disappointed me a bit, since I'm looking at things as a critic, and issuing marks as the real situation is. If I was slapping everything with a 10 out of 10 left and right, I doubt everyone would take me seriously, you know? That's why I'm here creating this rating system video, to explain the high and low marks issued for certain modifications, and why such marks have been applied to them. After I finish covering the criteria, I'm going to bring on the table some gameplays and replays as test subjects, and tear down the review section to fully explain how the said review was created. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Starting with the obvious, there are 10 points issued in my rating system. Some start with 5, others even with 100. But for me personally, such a number is more than enough. When I'm creating the review initially, the modification I'm covering starts with 10 points on the counter. You heard me right everyone. Before the actual process starts, the covered project has already the perfect score. Starting with the highest marks, mods go through the so-called trials of quality set by my criteria list, created by yours truly of course. Now let's discuss that thing in particular and explain how everything works out. Here are the criteria I'm taking in consideration: locations, armament, vehicles, factions, interface, AI, polish, stability, and main idea. I'm going to cover each of these separately, so let's start with the first. Locations. The main part of a modification are the maps which it has included, since the players must be immersed in the setting the project offers. Because of that, the locations are a very important criteria in my list, and it can take away up to 2 points based on the state the maps are in. That's right, this is the heaviest hit the mod receives during my review. If the mod that I'm reviewing has a solid locations available for players, the 2 points remain in the final mark that is passed by. An example of the highest passing mark: custom maps created in particular for the project setting, custom locations that are adapted under the setting, and or overhaul locations from vanilla Battlefield 2 with fresh ideas that I haven't seen before. Pretty standard procedure right there. Going a step down, this is where we arrive at 1 point loss. What really makes the mod lose 1 point on this particular criteria? The answer is simple as well: boring locations. An example being ported maps from vanilla, Battlefield 2142, Play for Free, and the Special Forces expansion pack without any changes to core gameplay. Lazy map design, let's call it that. This is content that was already seen multiple times in the past, just being thrown in for the sake of having something playable. This can also be applied to custom locations that are lazily made and thrown in to give a feel of larger choice. For the last, the loss of all points. If the project I'm reviewing has broken locations and or has less than 30% of included maps playable without issues, this is how points are lost completely. Examples of broken locations are dark objects, crashes on selection in the main menu, and subpar quality in the gameplay. Maps are a very important part in someone's work, since this is where you spend your time the most during gameplay. Playing on a well-designed map is key. You can't put 3 houses in a desert and call it a location. I think you get the idea, everyone. Armament. Arriving at this criteria, this is where we come down to a single point penalty for the content. Weapons and gadgets are included in this criteria, and depending on how these work, it's either a pass or fail. Custom content featuring new models, reloading animations, sounds, and overhauled mechanics automatically pass without any problems from my side of things. Although not the best practice, I also give a pass to light vanilla content use, such as models or animations, and Frostbite titles assets, but with a huge asterisk. It's pretty easy for the mod to lose the point, however, and I'm going to list the things that guarantee a loss for it. Here we go. Loud sounds that can be heard throughout the map, broken animations and models, heavy reuse of vanilla weaponry, and of course, balance issues such as overpowered firearms. The guns players use are top priority for mod creators from 2022 onward, so I hold these in high regard when firing up a project during my free time. Vehicles. Moving on, we arrive at transport means criteria. In this category, I am less punishing compared to Armament, since creating a vehicle from scratch is quite tasking, and considering how many there are for each faction featured in Vanilla Battlefield 2, it would take a huge amount of time to refresh them. To get to the point, the mod must feature custom vehicles and/or refresh vanilla ones with new features and UI. For example, M1A2 Abrams with new skin, sounds, more seats, and so on. Losing this point is probably the hardest, and I'm being honest with you everyone, since it only requires having plain vanilla vehicles with no changes applied to them. Yep, that's literally it. Factions. Following along, the team's criteria. The situation is quite similar to vehicles. To be awarded with positive feedback, all that's necessary is to revamp existing Vanilla Battlefield 2 soldiers and give them a fresh look. For example, skins, models, and voice lines that I've never seen before are given a huge pass. Mods that also feature custom factions outside of Battlefield 2 instantly gain this point, of course. Losing the mark here is just like vehicles, featuring vanilla content with no changes applied to them. Basically having ancient creatures roaming on the battlefields gives the mod a bad look. Interface. This one is probably the easiest out of all to recognize, everyone. I think even an inexperienced person would know that having a great UI would award you with positivity when it comes to this category. Losing just this point means the developers were too lazy to revamp the visual style of their project. Leaving Vanilla Battlefield 2 UI, aka the ancient pixelated mess from 2006 that existed for nearly 2 decades after the game's release, is not something should go unpunished. AI. Bot's behavior criteria is the exact representation for duality of a man. Either be dumber than a fish, or completely annihilate every living organism in the range of 50 kilometers. This point is almost always passed along because bots aren't always a problem in the latest Battlefield 2 modifications. But there is always that chance of losing it, and the reasons were stated before, having either extremely dumb or overpowered bots. It's not fun farming folks that sit put in a corner and do nothing. And the same can be applied when bots farm on you because the Skynet protocol was activated in their system. Polish. This criteria is self-explanatory. It awards, punishes content that wasn't polished enough for a full-fledged release of a modification. Just like the bots criteria, modifications always have this point applied on them. I really talk about this thingy because I would mostly highlight the problems with certain parts of the project. Basically, if the mod is extremely high in quality and gives me a very fun time, I'll apply this criteria over it. Losing it is pretty simple, having problems in vehicles, armament, interface, and factions department. For example, an animation or model is broken for a weapon, or the UI wasn't properly tuned in certain places and gives you a hard time understanding things. This one also covers custom teams that are there for the sake of being there. Stability. Here we come to the most interesting and the final criteria that takes away points from the final mark. Stability is self-explanatory once again. It covers the way modifications work when running on my system. This one is pretty hard to lose as well, because most projects that are released usually are stable and don't have performance issues. But it's still possible to lose the point in this criteria, however, no project is safe from it. Main culprit comes under the form of random and/or specific crashes when playing the modification. This point also contains the performance of projects, with the ability to lose a point when the frame rates are not constant and offer you a bad time on your system. Main idea. The final criteria from this list, and the main reason why heavy rented modifications have a 1 out of 10 issue to them. Even if everything in other departments is absolutely horrible, the mod will receive a point from this section because there was an idea behind the project. Either it being a classic knockoff Battlefield 3 for asset flip, or just taking content to evolve around a certain setting. Examples of such projects are, of course, the infamous Medal of Freedom and Project Duality 4.3 mods. There is a great idea behind them, but sadly the implementation is absolutely horrendous and should be revised from the ground up. And that's the list of my criteria, everyone, starting from the locations that have the most impact on the mark, and ending up with the main idea. For some of you this might not be a surprise at all, but for others it should clear things up on how the marks are being issued. Now there are some other factors outside this main list that I want to discuss, because these are issued like once in a lifetime. Well, except the first one that is coming up. Anyways, here are the additional factors that I want to discuss. Plagiarism. This one is probably the most controversial topic on my channel, since this is applied to almost 9 out of 10 cases on asset flips and copy-pasta modifications. As the title suggests, this means that the content the project features is copied from others and or taken without permission. I'm one avid hater of plagiarism, no huge surprise in this department everyone, that's why I lower scores drastically depending on how much content was taken. For example, Battlefield 4 weapons that are widespread on low effort projects, aka the copy-pastas. But it's not limited to that, however. Here is included taking content from other modifications and not changing anything to it. Basically annexing someone else's work without improving and or changing it. Even if given permission and nothing much was changed with the stated asset, the criteria will hit upon it. If people weren't punishing plagiarism, there would be no progress in the first place. You have to understand this, everyone. I'm willing to answer any questions, so drop by the comment section and ask there in case you want a more in-depth view over everything. Installation procedure. Extremely rare case, and only once I issued it for Heat of Battle for being a huge problem. This category doesn't take any points out of the final mark, but I'd still use it in case the modification has a serious problematic installation procedure. Nobody likes reading a whole Wikipedia page to install a software on their PC. I think it should be a norm to just launch an executable for the process to be automatic, or go for the classic formula of just dumping the mod folder in the required directory. For a true wrap, the bonuses for 10 out of 10 and 1 out of 10 marks. To refresh everyone's memories, I give badges to modifications that manage to reach the good and the bad end of spectrum when it comes to reviews on my channel. For 1 out of 10 of course, the Epic Fail badge, holder of which is probably shamed beyond oblivion for dumping such a project out for the public. For 10 out of 10, however, comes the Perfection Defined badge, meaning the project is truly incredible and can be recommended by me without any ifs or buts. I'm going to display both on the screen, so you can see them all in full glory. And now, moving on to the side that some of you might really enjoy, the dissection of a mod gameplay review, and explain the things really easy. Let's actually cover the recent entry that generated some questions, Firebird. I really went out of my way to punish this project, and this definitely upset some folks down in the comment section. Let's tear it down once again and issue the final mark. Imagine that Firebird has 10 out of 10 points right now. Starting with the location criteria. Firebird includes vanilla Battlefield 2 locations, shared locations with AIX mod, I am giving the benefit of the doubt that the developer has permission to use them, and some other custom maps that I've never seen before in other mods. I played a couple of rounds after recording the main gameplay, and I found lovely train wrecks such as this mountain right here. I cut this out during my review section, but this is my live reaction of seeing this bot clip through the ground. Oh my god. So I played two great custom locations, Kaken, AIX Refinery, two problematic ones, Warlord Noshar, Operation Fox, and two absolutely abysmal locations, Blank Map, yep, and Mountains. That's minus a point for broken locations inside the release, and for having ported ones from AIX without any major changes applied to them. Armament 1 is a lovely story for sure. So we have Frostbite assets here, and even ones I've seen previously from other modifications. Sounds are atrocious, damage is either too low or high, such as shotguns destroying vehicles. Models and animations look great, yeah, I give props there. But again, bad sound, bad gunplay, and plagiarized guns. Oh, and just like this comment stated, there is even a cherry on top, content from Project Duality, minus a point. Vehicles criteria. We have a custom camo applied on vehicles, that's good. but the gameplay mechanics and UI have been ported from Alpha Project, with only this change in the icon down there. Without these last two, vehicles are basically vanilla with a skin applied to them, minus a point. Factions criteria. As mentioned during the gameplay, the soldiers are from UNKnow mod, another project that I reviewed on my channel. Instead of a Russian faction, however, there is China and Mech. I'm not yet familiar with projects that use those assets, so I give a pass on this one. Barely, that is. Interface, as mentioned, is an ancient mess from 2006. Oh wait, recent media shows Alpha Project UI usage entirely in their promotionals. Plagiarism spotted once again. The version I played, however, doesn't have that particular UI. I haven't mentioned it, but I think you already spotted it, everyone. CP name blah 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 was there. And I even had a bug where the US flag was straight up transparent, me thinking that it didn't capture the flag at first, minus a point. AI has severe problems, being both overpowered and dumb. Fox bots annihilated me, while in Sunset at Kaken they were just existing in one spot. I'm dead silent about the abominations, since my tongue pains to even call them locations, minus a point. I can't find myself talking about the polish of this project, since I already mentioned crazy shotguns destroying cars from far away. Coupling again the monstrosities of the locations, one which spawns you in a mountain and has a stationary machine gun that clips you from the ground. Operation Fox doesn't have a background during loading, and some maps straight up show you gibberish on loading screens. Talk about quality assurance here, minus a point. Stability is non-existent, as the mod crashed on me 2 times during recording, and that was on the abominations of course, minus another point. And I wrap it up with the main idea. So, how many points did Firebird keep in its arsenal? Oh look, 3 out of 10. So the final mark for this project is a 3 out of 10. Sorry not sorry. A lot of work needs to happen in nearly all departments, starting with locations improvement and ending up with stability. That was a more negative review from my gameplay series. Let's have a look at a more positive one, for example, UNKnow. Let's give it a starting score of 10 out of 10. As one wise man once said, plugging the shit into the moist meter, this is where everything changes. Starting with the location criteria once again, this is where I hit UNKnow where it hurts the most. The maps of this project are simply said, awful and boring. It has ported locations from Battlefield 2, 2142 and Play for Free. Not only that, those are without any major changes on them, meaning they resemble vanilla entries. Coupled with the broken custom locations like Mortar and Ice, this is just a bruh moment. Still, as stated in my criteria information, new content is something fresh. That's why I issued only 1 point for this section. Armament situation, however, is in a much better shape, although it's going down a slippery slope with those frostbite assets in the gameplay. I'm glad to say that animations are great and gunplay is on point, but you have to learn how to fire the gun properly first. The sounds are also not satanic ear rape that will blast away your eardrums. A very cool bonus are the custom knives, each with different animations. I wish UNKnow wouldn't use those frostbite assets though, I would be more confident issuing a positive point here. Vehicles, however, I can assure that they are a strong point. Starting from vans with anti-air stationary and ending up with mobile artillery. There is a large choice of crew machines available to players. Shame you must find the right map in order to access them. Factions are also a solid point, as UNKnow features new models for soldiers. Let's not forget they even change depending on location, along with a camouflage on them. Definitely a strong point. Interface? Now this is where I'm split up on the matter. On one side, seeing Battlefield 2 featuring 2142 UI is something new for me for sure. However, you can see that the quality is pretty bad and it looks pixelated if you pay close attention to it. This was definitely a hard pass for me, and I should have taken a point out of it because it was a port without serious changes. But for this time, it's a pass. But, without any improvements to the next version, it's only going to drag down the mark. AI part of UNKnow was absolute trash. Bots getting stuck in pretty much random locations, and on some they were simply existing. And you could spot that in the gameplay video again, everyone, especially with Strike at Karkan port and the background footage of Taraba Quarry from the review. Bots are pretty dumb in this mode, so that's minus a point. We arrived at the quality assurance side of things. UNKnow has problems when it comes to polished content. Mortar and Ice had missing buildings, some weird invisible walls, some scopes for guns were misaligned as well. I wish that it was though, but there are many things I can count in this department, especially the voice lines for factions. Minus a point here. I never had any problems with UNKnow stability, and the game never crashed on me 2 hours during the gameplay session. That includes me recording footage for the review section as well, so no complaints from this side of things. And the final criteria, the main idea. Basically, with 3 point every modification that features on my channel is awarded. As you could see from this list, UNKnow could have easily received a lower mark when it comes to locations and interface. Those can also take the project down to a 5 out of 10 on my scale, making the modification a mediocre project. But I had fun playing this thingy, so not everything is doom and gloom after all. Right everyone, I guess I should wrap this thing up, since this video will take ages to make if I continue tearing down other reviews on Gaming Zone. I'm trying my best to give criticism and feedback without any bias, since just praising or insulting a project won't do any good for both parties, me and the developer. Of course, things such as Medal of Freedom can make me lose it, and just drop a fat rant on every single thing the modification contains. But nowadays, I strive to maintain my temper in check and give proper reviews on things. Mistakes might happen from my side of things everyone. For example, me rating Urban Conflict a whopping 8 out of 10 on launch, without knowing what horrors it was hiding behind the curtains of refreshed vanilla locations. If you have any additional questions about the information provided in this video, my friend, you are always welcome to drop by the comment section to share your thoughts about everything. I'm going to respond to every message when possible. I hope you found this upload interesting, since some of you were really interested how the reviews worked out. Alrighty, that's enough of me blabbering. Time to start recording more mod gameplays and replays, since I know you are waiting for those more than this kind of content. Before you go, remember to throw a thumbs up and subscribe. Clicking the bell stuff will send you notifications when something new is uploaded on my channel. Thank you for watching, this was Chris, see you in the Gaming Zone.